Hi there, thank you so much for clicking the thumbnail and being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips on how I created ginger hair, starting off with the underdrawing, then the rich colour stage and then the detail stage. Be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Right, this is where we left it in part 1, so now to the underdrawing stage. So I'm using these sort of combinations of colours to get the ginger hair. This is for the background colour, it's like a bluey grey colour. And first of all, just ghosting the outline, just to take the excess grey pencil off there, and just basically just getting that background in first. This will help me to find values better in the hair, but first of all just sort of roughing it in, just adding a cream to selection here as well as the lemon yellow there. I've got like a creamy colour. Normally I'd use white and then just sort of basic colours just to get the structure of the under painting or drawing, but in this instance, with it being a rich ginger colour, cream seemed to be better than white, because white made it too tinted and too sort of cold feeling, so that's why I've used the yellow there. Just using the brown just to darken things up a bit. So I'm not really interested at this stage getting the colour right, the value or anything. It's just a matter of redrawing the outline and getting everything into the shape it should be. I find the best approach when you're doing hair is just to see it as blocks of colour and shapes and movement, and just be spontaneous with it. Don't have any sort of expectations or memories of what you've done before. Just keep in the moment and just let it flow. It's always best not to be too random with it though, and be as close as you can to what the reference image is, the shapes and everything, so you don't get lost then, and then you've got an idea of what sort of colour and subtleties need to be put in without sort of making it up too much. So do as close as you can. Don't have to be exact, it's just your interpretation, but just be as close as you can. Then it keeps everything nice and relaxed then when you start putting those rich colours over the top of this. Enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Just going to add a little bit of black now to the colour that's a similar colour to the background, and then add the primary colours mixed in with it. Then you get all the subtleties then, and you can just blend it to get the colour just right. So I'm just adding the black and then putting a bit of lemon yellow in there. And then what I'm doing, instead of using white to tint it, I'm using the 110, like a white grey from the Carbotella range. It's perfect for backgrounds. It makes it nice and sort of smooth. It's a soft pencil, that is. Now on to the rich colour stage for the hair. These are the colours from Caran d'Ache I've selected. They're rich in vibrancy, so it really gives that sort of that shimmer you want, that shine. Just adding this rich pigment now. I know it's lighter and richer than it should be, or saturated, but I need to put that down first, then I can put the subtle desaturation over the top and these colours will shine through. That's the idea. So it looks a bit too ginger and a bit too red at the moment, but I'm doing that on purpose, because when I put the browns over the top and blues and blacks, the actual richness will still shine through, and that's the idea behind it. Just like to take this opportunity to thank all my Patreons for their wonderful support every month. Can't thank you enough, I really appreciate it. If you're considering joining me on Patreon and would like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please check the link in the description below for more details. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm just getting that rich pigment down now, and it's too saturated at the moment, but that is for a reason. I'm just glazing over now, just getting the pigment, and you can see that what I've done underneath is still shining through, but what I need to do now is desaturate everywhere, but this richness will still shine through the saturation, and that's the idea behind it. Just slowing it down just to show you just that now, because I'm using the dark green to actually desaturate this burnt sienna colour. Now you can actually use a blue or a green because it's like a reddy orange colour, so to desaturate something you need to use the complementary colour, but both works. If you use a blue it's a bit colder, that's why I've used green, because it's actually creates more of a warmer desaturation. Down to real time now, so you can actually see how I'm putting the strands of hair over the forehead there. So I'm using dark green to start with because it makes it easy. If I need to change that into a skin tone I can change it up, but if I could put straight away with brown it's more difficult to get the subtlety or change anything. So I always go with a bit of green really first, and then I can add the burnt sienna or whatever colour on top of that once I'm happy in the position of it. But if the position is wrong I can easily change it and make that green into skin tone again. So that's the reason I'm doing that, and now I'm happy with the position on it, so I'm just going over now with the burnt sienna. Now keeping it a similar pattern to what I see, so I don't get lost in it then. I don't have to be exactly the same like I mentioned earlier, but if you can get close to it, it makes it easier to get the subtleties right. Now I'm putting the wisps in. Now I'm using the Caran d'Ache. This is actually flesh tint I'm using here. It's only yellow ochre and a bit of red and white mix really, but it's ideal for this sort of thing. And I'm putting light pressure here and there and more pressure where it's like glints. But I'm using the edge of the pencil rather than the point, so I sharpen it with a knife so it creates different edges, and I just keep turning my pencil to find another edge, and then I'm just glazing over with that then with colours that will create the actual shimmer. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me, as this would help the channel to grow. Just slowing it down again now so you can actually take a closer look at what I'm doing here. It's very fascinating to do this with the hair going over the skin tone to make it look realistic. I'm using a little bit of burnt sienna because it reflected light from the hair there, so I'm putting that in, but then I'm mixing dark green to create a neutralization of the burnt sienna, and it'll create a natural skin tone. Now using a little bit of white as well to tint the yellow that I'm putting down because it's a little bit too rich, and to get that subtlety I'm just tinting it with this titanium white from the Carbothello range, and it makes all the difference. So it's a combination of warm and cold together that gives it that realism as well. Just getting that glow now. You seem to get a bit of glow between the hair and the forehead, and putting that sort of burnt sienna in there makes all the difference with it reflecting from the hair. And then I'm just desaturating it with the olive green there, and then just going through here with darker colours. It's just a case of going round and getting the overall look right. So I'm using dark green and brown, but then you're going all over the place, not just focusing on one spot. You're getting a balance throughout. And so I'm just working on this section on the top, and then once I work out what's needed, then I'll go through and desaturate everything else then, so it matches what's happening up there on the top of the head. Now it's really important to get the balance now between where the hair starts and the skin tone around it. So I'm using warm red and olive green and then brown, and then I've got the skin tone colour there from Caran d'Ache, and sort of blending all these colours together to create a harmony really, so it sort of blends in and feels quite natural. It's really important to really squint your eyes and find the values and compare one shade against the other, and that way you get like a harmony right through your portrait. Now I'm using a colour shaper here just to make sure that the actual edges are correct. Some edges are softer, some are sharper, so what I'm doing here is just softening the edge of that strand of hair there so it don't look too sharp. If you're interested in knowing how I create the shadows for things, I've got this free class that you're welcome to. The link is in the description below, and it's a colour wheel I've made up, and it's initially for skin tone, where I explain how I create shadows for skin tones, but it applies to everything else I do: landscapes, seascapes, pets, whatever. The principle is still the same. So please check out the description below this video to find the link, and then you're welcome to this free class. Just taking a closer look now at the side of the hair there, just the whiffs again. I'm just using the skin tone colour. It's ideal for this little glints of hair that's going over the skin tone, and just take your time with it, just varying the pressure and just go with the flow. Our suggest is to don't focus too much on thinking about doing these details, is just to let that detail or the reference image, the energy in the detail, come into you and draw it from inside you. So keep centered in your heart, and you'll find that you'll be relaxed and you just take it in your stride. But if you go into your head too much and start thinking about these things, it will cause tension, and you'll lose hope really in heart if you're not careful, because there's quite a lot of details here. But the more you can focus on your heart, the more it's more relaxed and it's more spontaneous, and it just happens by itself. Just got to be patient and build it up slowly but surely. I keep looking in the mirror a lot. Sometimes I take the painting into another room, see how it looks. Take a photograph on my mobile phone, and generally just try and get an overall oneness to it. Still very saturated at the moment, but that will change as I progress with this, and it's just slowly but surely getting that balance right and putting those glints here and there, using lemon yellow on certain areas as well, just to lift it up. Dark green seems to be the thing to desaturate the burnt sienna in this instance. I'm using white a lot as well to tint it, so it's not just a case of using the cream to get a glow, there's also tint in it as well, and that makes a big difference. For this video I'm just going to do this sort of section of the hair. Now if you want to see the whole of the hair completed as well as the whole portrait, don't forget it will be on my Patreon at some point, where you can see and hear me as I go, moment by moment, mostly in real time. This portrait will be in 3 parts, and you get a really in-depth look at how I work, and it's really good value because it's only a small amount each month, and once you join it opens up every video on there, and I've got quite a few videos on there now, so please check out the link in the description below if you want to find more details about my Patreon. Just getting an overall balance now, just keep working in that brown and the green to desaturate it, but you'll find that the warmth of that colour you put in initially shines through the brown and the green, which creates more of a sort of rich ginger hair. Now if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have been able to create that same sort of feeling. That's why I put that rich colour. It looked a bit strange to start with because it's always an ugly stage, but now you can see it coming together now. Now I'm laying colours on the top, and what I'm doing now is trying to get an overall balance and trying to create form. So I'm putting like really vibrant colours, little glints here and there to lift it, to send it forward, and then I'm using green and browns to go back, so then it's creating curves in the hair which gives it that 3D look to it. To achieve the overall balance, what I'm doing is squinting my eyes to see the value, opening my eyes to see the colour, so you're going from one to the other, and keep looking in the mirror and just seeing it from a different angle, and just work on the whole, try and create that oneness so it all feels like it belongs to the portrait. Sense the actual aura of the person, because there's energy in the hair and also there's energy around her as well. So if you look at that and sense that, rather than just seeing the details, open up and see the overall balance between the energy of the skin tone and the energy in the hair and around the head, and then you'll get this real aliveness and it'll look like she's actually there. Thank you so much for watching it right till the end. I really appreciate it. So I've only done so much for you, so it's not so much to watch then. All this next stage and everything will be done on Patreon. So if you want to see the whole thing, consider joining me on Patreon. It's a very small amount each month. It helps me out with YouTube as well. And you actually got access to every tutorial on there for a very small amount a month. So please check that out. The link is in the description below. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you want to see more of my work, please check out this video here. Take care. Bye for now.